Teaching English as a second language, ESL in China. I just want to explain a few things that I went over with my students, a little experience, and to let you know that I will be doing more videos, sharing more experiences and fun in the classroom, just awesome things. I loved my time in China. I think being a teacher of English not only helped my students, but it helped me. I mean, I think travel always helps a human and our spirit. It's amazing. Anyhow, a few things that you'll need to do if you're going to teach English as a second language is definitely think of what is appropriate for the people that you are teaching. That's part of lessons in life, right? So I would take into consideration, is their major English or is their major something else? I taught a group of hospitality students. So I would cater to their hospitality, obviously vocabulary, experiences, things like that. We had a blast. I loved that class. One quick story. When I was in China, I was at a hotel, and for breakfast we had soup. I was like, do you guys have any breakfast? And they're like, yeah, you've got soup. And I was like, oh God. Right? I was a bit shocked, and I was like, okay, I guess, when in Rome. So, or in this case, when in China, So I drank my soup, and that was breakfast. I have to say, though, we all like the comforts of, home or whatever we're used to. So I made note of that. And when I went and taught my students in hospitality, I said, okay, one thing is we all have different breakfasts. And I'm going to start you out with the most basic breakfast for babies that America has, so from like ground zero where we start. And I went to the foreign store, paid a ton of money, and got like 3 boxes of Cheerios. Tons of money on Cheerios. But I went there, I got spoons, I got bowls, and I had to special order them, which is so strange. Special ordering those, and then milk. And so I gave them each dry Cheerios and Cheerios with milk. They could choose or however they wanted to do it, right? And I wanted them to have the experience. So if someone comes to them, they can reflect back on the time that they had Cheerios. Now, it's not just the experience of it, right? But I talked about it in English. I had them explain it in English and talk about it. So you can kind of integrate things that are as simple as showing a different cultural background, silly as cereal, and also learning their English. So that was important. A few things that you do need to cover. Usually it's culture. And of course I talked about American culture, which is a huge mix of a bunch of different cultures also. And you discuss holidays. Holidays can be very tricky. I think I already did a video on teaching, I think, Christmas and Easter, Christmas/Easter in China. It was tricky, right? But you are required to do that, or at least I was. We were required to talk about holidays and cultures. And you really have to kind of change your perspective and talk in a way that is extremely understandable as people, but also something that gets the point across, right? So I enjoyed the culture. It kind of opened my own eyes to things too. Things we take for granted. Suddenly we have to like observe and look at and say, why do we do this? What is in this? And explain it in a good way. Conversation skills. They can be like very much lacking in pretty much any second language, right? I think it's because we get nervous and we don't always want to speak the language, or sometimes we hear something we're not quite sure, or we don't always have the vocabulary in ourselves. So I always tried to really push for them to speak to each other. Okay, I did a lot of like kind of off the wall things. Maybe that's just kind of how I am. I personally, this is so random, but I do not believe in just regular school for everyone. Simply just cannot. No, do not believe that. I believe we learn how we learn and just kind of, be more free in spirit. So one of the things that I did, I got everyone's phone numbers. Number one, I always ask permission. I always try and respect every other human being the way I would want to be respected. I respect boundaries, the whole nine. I think it's important, right? So I asked for their permission to give their phone numbers to somebody else that was in one of my other classes. So what I did is I had an entire group give me their phone numbers. So I put it in one envelope, and then I had, whoops, daisy. I had multiple classes, right? So I had all these envelopes and I exchanged them, all of them. And it was so cool. And I said, okay, you guys will call this person at whatever time you guys make it and have a conversation. And I'm going to check in on both sides, right? Now, there's no guarantee you're going to have people. Maybe someone's like, dude, I am not in the mood for English. Let's just speak in Chinese, or let's just fake it and get the grade, right? I'm cool with that. Human beings, we all have our rights. But I have to tell you, I actually slipped in some numbers from some of my friends, and now I got their permission. Everyone always got that, right? And who spoke English just perfectly. And they really, it was so awesome. All these people branched out. It was kind of like a random meeting thing with people who are like-minded, going to school, doing all these things. It was such a fun activity. When they came back to report out, oh my goodness, it was fun. It was a riot. Everyone was beyond excited. There were a few people who distinctly spoke not English. And you know what? I don't know. I'm not too offended by that. I have to say, somehow, when they are put into their majors, it's not always their choice. So I support as much as I can do, but I am not anyone's mother. I am someone there to teach, and you teach as much as someone is open to, right? So anyway, I had a blast. I loved my students. I loved doing fun things with them. I tried to teach them outside, inside, the 5 senses. I tried to teach humanity, more or less, while teaching English. So I guess that's the thing. And kind of give them a break from all the other pressures and all that. We had a blast. I loved it. Teaching English is a great thing. Truly invest in other human beings when you're doing this. You can go to a different country and you can develop on your own so very much. But remember, while you're there, you are there to invest in these people, and you will love them so much. Anyway, I totally love all my students. I actually miss them. I'm not in contact with hardly anyone, and it's kind of because of the closed offness of China. It's rough. I'm kind of bummed about that, but I don't know. I'll try a little harder to get in touch, because I just loved them. Wonderful, beautiful people. Anyhow, so one more thing I was gonna say. If you give out names to people, please think about it. Give them good names. Give them names that will make you feel like a better person. Give them names that they could use in business as an adult and doing things. There were many times I ran into someone who received an English name and it wasn't appropriate, and it made me sick and infuriated, to say the least. So this is something, I know usually when people like to learn different languages, they like names to be given to them in that language, and that's fine, you know. I personally am not like a huge thing. I do have a Chinese name, which I love though, but I learned Spanish, and it wasn't like, I don't need a Spanish name necessarily, but other people enjoy that. So if they do, be thoughtful, be kind, be good. That's the biggest thing. Anyhow, I love teaching English as a second language. I encourage you, if you have the opportunity, do it. Do it with tons of love and excitement and energy and everything that you've got. Time is short, so enjoy it. Enjoy every minute. I will be doing more videos with a lot more experiences. I actually have a lot of cool videos of my students. They're so cool. I'll be adding some of those, and wishing you all the best.